Bandai decided to do a fun little update video for Digimon's anniversary on the 26th, and I assumed it was largely going to be about Time Stranger and figured I didn't need to wake up at 6 in the morning just to see it. We of course have the Godzilla Digital Monster Color and D3 25th Color Evolution releasing in the next few months, so LCD toy news seemed unlikely at this point. The next device would likely be another collab, and I didn't imagine they'd be willing to reveal it at this stage. So here I am once again, taken by surprise with a move I somewhat expected at some point, but certainly not this soon and not in this way. A new digital world has been revealed, and we're getting new versions of the Digimon Pendulum Color line. As usual, we're dealing with premium Bandai releases, not retail products, so it's not like you'll be able to walk into Target and pick one of these up. For that, you're going to need to import, and that importing process can be real easy with ZeninTCG, who have once again teamed up with me to sponsor this video. You should know by now that ZeninTCG is your one-stop shop for importing Digimon and anime merch, so obviously they're going to have both versions of the new Digimon Pendulum releases, Sou Warriors and Toho Braves. Not only that, but you can get a whopping 10% off if you buy their bundle that includes both devices. They also have you covered for the new official Digimon Pendulum Ironmon cases, and you can save there too with a 5, 8, or 10% discount for purchasing 4, 6, or 10 at a time respectively. If you like what you see, head to ZeninTCG and get yours. Now before we touch on these new devices, let's look at some lore. Now if you know me, I'm not a huge lore guy, but this is worth talking about because basically there's been the main digital world this whole time, right? And they've also talked about Iliad, which is another digital world, and that's going to be where Time Stranger takes place. I believe, I'm pretty sure that's the case, but I'm not a huge expert on that side of Digimon, so forgive me if I get a few things wrong in this explanation. But now there's a third digital world as well, because apparently Witchelny is part of the first digital world, but in a different dimension of it, and it's real confusing. Don't worry too much about it, these are just virtual pets. So, digital world Shambala is the new location, and it is based very much heavily around East Asian mythology. So, we'll go through a little bit of this. We're not going to spend a whole lot of time on this portion, but yeah, we can see that Suzuhanamon creates this world. It's got this cute little yin-yang continent and island situation going on, which is, it's pretty neat. It's got some guy named Kunlun running the whole thing, and yeah, good for him. So yeah, the land here, we have both the continent and the island. The continent is named the Genshi continent, and the island is Ashino Island. So Genshi continent is very much based on Chinese mythology, while Ashino Island is based on Japanese mythology, and that's where those devices are going to come in. I really do love the fact that just like with the original Digital Monster being based on File Island and the Digimon Pendulum being based on Folder Continent, and both of them coming with their own lore with the virtual pets. It's not like that was coming from other parts of Digimon, that's the virtual parts themselves supplying that lore. I like seeing that again here. We don't really have anything else that Shambhala is necessarily being used for yet. It really is part of the virtual pets themselves. A lot of people look at these things and are like, well, there's, that's all they are. They're just pets, right? But no, they got whole stories. They got things going on. They are their own tales within the Digimon franchise, just like the anime is, just like the comics are, all that stuff. So virtual pets contribute to that as well, as we are seeing right here. So the cool thing about this is that there are a number of Digimon involved in this that already exist in other areas. Now, if you've been paying attention to the Chinese mobile game, Digimon New Century, you'll have seen a lot of new Digimon coming out of that over the past several years. And a lot of those are very much based on Chinese mythology, stuff that I'm not super familiar with, I'm not going to lie. But that's the idea, is a lot of that's coming out of that. So those Digimon that we've been seeing, a ton of them are coming in here. So Erlangmon, Takutomon, Nezhamon, those are all from New Century. And then on the right side here, we see ones that are based more on Japanese mythology. So we have Amaterasu, which is brand spanking new. We haven't seen that one before. That's debuting with this device. Kaguyamon and Ryugumon, both of whom came from Liberator. I can't remember if Kaguyamon came from the novel or the comic. I haven't read either. I know Ryugumon was in the comic. I can't remember if Kaguyamon was in there too, but either way, so we've got those in there. And then we have Shakamon, who's been around, who's kind of like the whole, I guess, super being here or something, like under Kunlun, but whatever. And then this guy rolling the underworld over here, Enmamon. So yeah, we've got a variety of these Digimon coming from these recent sources, all based on these mythologies. So they're in different groups. So this is the Tente Hachibusu, and I'm going to pronounce a lot of these things wrong. I'm sorry, but that's going to happen, and you're going to have to deal with it. Then it talks about the Saneketsu and whatever they're doing. So we see a mixture, again, of different Digimon. in Chinese mythology, like, I forget what this guy's name is. It's like Ching something or the other. I've got it around here when it gets to the point. Then we have the Sanmyojin, which are the 3 that I mentioned before, all based on Japanese mythology. We've got the Yomi area, which is that one guy. So yeah, that's pretty much it as far as the main piece of the lore there. But what you mostly need to know is it's all, again, Eastern Asian influenced Digimon in a cute little continent and island setup shaped like yin yang. So let's go into the actual devices then. So one thing I really want to point out here that is really, really cool is that this is not a new series of devices. This is the next releases in the Digimon Pendulum Color series. So previously we had seen them make like the Digital Monster X after they did the version 20th, and after the Pendulum version 20th, they did the Pendulum Z, both of which were based on those previous devices' shells and reused them, but in their own unique ways. But this truly does appear to just be actual new releases in the Pendulum series. So these aren't new things with their own mechanics or whatever, which, you know, maybe that's a little disappointing if you think of it that way, but I still think it's really cool because these are actually being branded as versions 6 and 7 of the Pendulum. Again, codifying that the version 0 Pendulum is in fact 0 and not 6, which, you know, that's not confusing at all, despite being the 6th Pendulum there. So really cool to see that. And again, each one is based on one of those 2 landmasses. So the red and yellow one that we see here that is called Sou Warriors or Sou Warriors, whatever. That's based on the Genji continent, and Ashino Island is featured on this white and red one over here, based on Japanese mythology, and that's called the Toho Braves. So basically 2 new fields based around mythology rather than the normal types of fields based on like where Digimon live on the island. So we also see these 2 Digimon here, Amaterasumon on the right, and I believe that's Satan Gokumon on the left there, otherwise known as Super Saiyan Goku, as you can tell. You're going to see a lot of Journey to the West stuff today. Japanese folks love their Journey to the West a lot. It's a big part of their culture. You see it in everything over there all the time. And it's been a big part of Digimon for a while. You know, Hanuman has been an early representative of Journey to the West. This is referenced to in a lot of ways still today with that. There's several Digimon that were based specifically on these characters. It's huge in Digimon, so it made sense that we'd get a Journey to the West device eventually. So going down here, so we can see a little bit more about what's on them. Again, these are new releases in the Pendulum series, so should have mostly the same functionality. Same feeding, same training, same battling, all that stuff should be basically identical. We have not seen anything on here to indicate that these are brand new features devices in any way. Should just be existing ones here. So the meat of this, of course, is going to be the roster, and we talked about this. So it is a big mix of these Digimon from previous iterations of the franchise, which makes sense, as well as a surprisingly large number of new Digimon. So right here on the center here, we see this new little monkey. Don't know his name, but there he is. You know, Journey to the West, gotta have your monkeys. We then have Satan, I think, is it Satan? Let me just double check my notes here. Yeah, Seiten, Satan Gokumon. So that's him. As you can see, he's got little pig and kappa strapped to his shoulders there, representing the other compatriots of there. I recognize him as Goku, and I recognize Oolong, and I recognize Yamcha, and yeah, that's how I look at this. So the next guy there, that would be the Yamcha equivalent. That is, oh, I always forget his name. What is it? Sagomon is who that is. And then Shohakaimon, who we previously saw in the Digital Monster X, is here as well, representing Oolong, or whatever the character's name is in Journey to the West. I know Dragon Ball, not the original source material, and I also know, do not worry, I know Dragon Ball is not even remotely like the retelling of the tale. It's just heavily inspired by it. I get that. But then we also have Chonpangmon over there, who I freaking love, and I'm very excited to see that in a virtual pet. It was in the Vital Bracelet, and now we're going to have it on a more proper virtual pet as well. So we get a lot of the sprites, and by a lot of them, I mean all of them. We get all the sprites for this device here. So going through the roster, we see the Flying Nimbus going on, you know, the Monkey King's Cloud or whatever, and we've got 2 versions, a little baby and baby 2 version of it going up. And then those evolutions go into that monkey that we saw above. We have Kamemon, which makes sense since that will be representative of Sagomon. Sagomon itself being a recolor of Shawujinmon, because why not? I do hate recolors still. I don't know why Shawujinmon couldn't just be the Journey to the West stand-in there, but whatever. I'm not going to tell them how to do their job. Below Kamemon, we have a brand new Digimon, and this seems very clearly meant to associate with Chonpangmon and its line. And it's just a little fish, just a cute little fish. Very much love it. Looking forward to see artwork of that. And below that, another new Digimon, which is the Mighty Cow, which we also saw on the Tamagotchi Paradise, if you watch that video. But the cow there makes sense, I guess, because I know there's an Ox King in Dragon Ball. So many people are going to be screaming at me during this, be like, it's more than just Dragon Ball. I know, I promise you, I know that, but that's my main exposure. So, going down the adult line, we have Hanuman. Of course we have Hanuman. Gotta have him here. He's Goku, of course. Below that, we have Chitse, I forget, I think it's Chitsemon, if I recall correctly on how to pronounce this. A little bird guy, love him, really cool. He was from New Century. Below that, Gawapamon, of course, goes with Kamemon. And then Leonpumon, which is this weird, I don't know how to describe him. I really don't know how to describe him, but also from New Century. We then have Ginkakumon and King Kakumon, which by this point, with as many times as I've seen them referenced in like everything, I should really know more about what the heck their deal is, but I don't. But I just know that they are so commonly referenced in anime. And I don't even watch a lot of anime, and even I know that. We then have a horse, which I'm sure has some significance somewhere. But to me, currently, it is just a horse, which is actually pretty neat. You know, we've got Unimon, and we've got, like, Pegasmon. We don't really have, like, just a natural horse, unless you want to count Shima Unimon, but that's a zebra, and also a filthy recolor. So, of course, I don't count that. So, yeah, we got a little horse guy. And Indaramon fans are going to be thrilled. We then have Turuemon, which I've never cared for that guy. I'm not going to go any further into that, but just a little rabbit. Going down the next line, the perfect stage Digimon, we have Sanzomon, who I believe is Bulma, if I recall correctly. Like, again, very loosely. We have Fankunmon, which is a big old fancy fish. Chohakaimon, which we already talked about. We have Pandamon. You know, pandas are Chinese. Sure, why not? And then, of course, the man himself, Gokumon, is here. Not to be confused with Gokumon. This is Gokumon, not Gokumon. Get it? You good? Okay, good. So he's there as, you know, Son Goku or Sun Wukong or however you want to go about it. But that's the guy. And then we've got Chanchanmon, and it is some kind of crazy looking ogre with a little fire on his head. Pretty fun design. There's Sagamon down there. Again, wish it was Shabujinmon, but whatever. We have Endearamon, and this does appear to be the Deva version of Endearamon, aka the one that's a data attribute, and that appeared in Tamers. And then moving on to the Ultimates, we have Erlongmon from New Century, Chanpengmon from New Century, Shigaramon from New Century. I like Shigaramon, actually. Shigaramon's a cool fish lady. Pretty sick. Nezahamon. Guess what? Nezahamon's from New Century. You're going to see that pattern continued a lot in here. This is basically new Digimon New Century, the device, is what we're talking about. Brand new Digimon, not from New Century this time, but will it be a New Century? Oh my gosh, of course it will. That is Seiten Gokumon, and that's Seiten. I'm pretty sure that's pronounced Seiten. Not Satan Gokumon, but Seiten. So basically Super Saiyan version of Gokumon. And below that we have Dijangmon, who is this crazy demon with a bunch of, what are they, sutras all over him? Or whatever they're called. Guess what? From New Century. And then Takutomon from New Century, and Jogamon from New Century. One of the many millions of rabbit Digimon that we have that are also themed around the moon, because all rabbits are moon creatures. And then leading up the top of that as the Super Ults, and possibly the only Super Ults. Well, actually, definitely, because they have confirmed that the number of Digimon on here is 31, and there are 31 Digimon we're looking at. So there are no more surprises beyond this, but our Super Ult is Shakamon over there. So that is the roster for the Sou Warriors, and despite the fact that I haven't been following New Century very closely, nor have I been super thrilled about most of the reveals, seeing them all together like this is pretty darn sick. I love that this has been going towards. I am curious how much of this was coordinated beforehand with New Century, as in, like, have they had the Shambala server like figured out for a long while now, and been like, well, let's use New Century as a chance, since it's a Chinese mobile game, put a bunch of Chinese mythology in there, and populate this new idea. So I'm curious how much of that was pre-planned, or if New Century was just like, well, we're just going to keep making Chinese mythology Digimon, and Bandai was just like, hey, wait, we can use that. And yeah, I don't know which order it came, but either way, very neat to see. So then we come down to the Japanese themed device, the Toho Braves, and we immediately see several Japanese mythology inspired Digimon, including a new little dog with a horn and a bell of some kind in its tail. I got no clue what that's referring to. It's got its tongue out like an umbrella. whatever. And we got Amaterasumon, who is not a cute wolf with a paintbrush, but, you know, that's fine. We'll get over it. Oboromon, which debuted in Ghost Game previously as a cool new evolution idea for Mushimon, and I actually very much like Oboromon. Oboromon's a very, very cool Digimon. We have Karatanmon, who I am freaking thrilled about, because I've always been a big fan of bird people designs like this. So, like, the Chozo in Metroid, for example, are one of my favorites. When the spoiler alert, when Ravenbeak reveals his wings during his boss fight, I freaking lost it. That was like the coolest moment to me. So Karatanmon, I've always been a fan of that Digimon, but it never gets used in anything. So seeing it finally actually appear on a VPET even is freaking phenomenal. I'm very thrilled about that. And then new guy over here on the right, clearly associating with Karatanmon, but much more leaning into the Tengu vibe. I'm just going to assume it's called Tengumon. We don't have a name yet, but there it is with its weird sandals that I never understood. And yeah, very, you know, that very heavily inspired by Japanese lore, obviously. So let's look at the rest of the device here. We start off with these two little specters, like your classic generic yokai that you would always see. And then we have that dog from above. We have Hanimon from Liberator. We have a new little, what appears to be a hermit crab or something similar. It could just be entirely a mollusk. I'm not 100% sure, but either way, new little creature, which is hilarious because Sangomon has been around filling that niche for, you know, since the Pendulum Z came out, and in Liberator, it's featured as a partner, and we see the rest of the Sangomon from Liberator's line here, but apparently Sangomon wasn't good enough for this device, so it got ripped out of the line that was designed specifically for it in a story and was replaced with this thing. But hey, I'm never going to complain about more Deep Sabers. And then we have Renamon, makes sense, Kitsune and all that, so would expect to see those. Moving right along, we have Sishamon, which it's one of those, like, you know, guard dogs that sit outside of buildings and whatnot, so makes sense. Pekmon, a ninja. We have Kokeshimon, which is Hanimon's evolution recently from Liberator. We have Shellmon, who's just along for the ride to get to Ryugumon, really. Mushimon, who is very happy about this. Mushimon's always been a Digimon I've been a big fan of from the very beginning, but kind of similar to Kratenmon, it doesn't get used a ton in things. It's shown up in the anime a few times and some other spots, but virtual pets wise, it's been on the Vital Bracelet and nothing else. So seeing it on a virtual pet, super thrilled about. Not thrilled about Fugumon. I get why it's here. Don't care. It's still a filthy recolor. We then have a Lucky Cat going on right below that. And then you'll see the bottom three Digimon there are all silhouetted out. And the first one there looks like some kind of goat. Possible. A lot of people are thinking it's going to be associated with Renamon in some way, so could also be a fox of some kind. But with you know, it's hard to tell from this. But the reason it's blacked out, I would assume, is because it has some sort of story relevance either to Liberator or to New Century, and they don't want to reveal it just yet because it's supposed to be revealed in one of those. They did the same thing when the Pendulum Z came out. Several Digimon were hidden until they appeared in Digimon Colon back when that was airing. So that's that. Next line there, we have some sort of like flying beasts. I don't know. I don't even know where to begin with that. I cannot guess what that is. I mean, I could tell what its design looks like, and it's cool, but like I don't know what it's referencing. And then below that we have Yatagaramon from the 2006 version, and this to go along with Pekmon. We have Karakurumon from Liberator. We have Marine Bullmon, the new Shellmon evolution that was introduced in Liberator. We have Oboromon, again, very big fan of Oboromon. We have Karatanmon, big fan of that. We have what I am calling Daruma Tamamon, because that is very clearly a Digitamamon, and that is very clearly a Daruma. So I cannot imagine what else you would call that. If it is not called Daruma Tamamon, I'm not going to eat any hats, but, you know, you get what I'm saying. And then a mystery Digimon below that. And then up on our next column, we have the brand new Amaterasumon, and we have Ravemon from Digimon Sabers. We have Kaguyumon from Princess Kaguya, which is a pretty cool film. I'd recommend watching it. Very stylish. Ryugumon, who is like just this massive cool sea slug type thing. Very big fan of it. I forget what type of sea slug specifically, but yeah, freaking cool as heck. Zanbamon, which, yeah, makes sense to see that here with Mushimon and Oboromon. Then the Tengumon, or whatever it's going to be called. And then a very, very recent new Digimon added to Liberator as an evolution of Ryugumon is Ariamon. And you'll notice it's not an evolution of Ryugamon here, because they're in the same lane. So previously on the Pendulum 20th, Rafflesamon was created for that as a super ultimate stage for Lotusmon and Rosemon to progress into. And then on the very next device, on the Digital Monster X, it was downgraded to be a standard ultimate. Now, there is no actual level distinction between ultimate and super ultimate. They're the same level, it's just super ultimate is a class to indicate they're stronger. But either way, it did feel like a downgrade. It's been used a lot as a stage 6 without Jogress ever since. And so Ariamon just suffered the same fate, but even faster. It was released like a week ago, and it's already being used as just a normal stage 6 Digimon. So I thought that was pretty funny. And then who knows what the heck under that. And then to the right we have Enmamon. Is Enmamon the same thing as Yema? Like the big red guy from Dragon Ball? I don't know for sure. I mean, he's red, and he's Enma. Yema. That's got to be the same thing. I don't know. I am not an expert on these cultures and their cool mythologies, so I do not profess to be, and probably never will be. But either way, I do like Digimon a lot and love talking about them. So those are the rosters, and so that's again 31 Digimon on each device, and no repeats between them. So you can get both, you can get one or the other. They have not mentioned whether or not there are things that unlock between having both. So I'm gonna guess that since they haven't said that there's not specific unlocks, but yeah, that's my assumption at least. So hard to say for sure. We'll have to double check on that. So, and by the way, if you do have to have multiple devices to unlock something, there's always ACOMs. Don't forget about that, and communicators in general to be able to simulate connections with other Digimon devices. So again, functionality should be largely the same. You shake up the device for training and battles to be able to get the best types of shots. The number of times you need to shake depends on the attribute of your Digimon, and you'll be shown a color that you need to target. And when the shake counter is about to come up, and you just shake until you see that color. Super simple. Anybody can do it. You have the ability to freeze your Digimon when you won't be using it for a while so that it doesn't age or lose hearts. So you can set it on pause essentially, and you can also back up your Digimon to raise another one. You can have one Digimon to back up, one being raised. No more than that. And then this is rechargeable via USB Type-C, just like all other pieces of the Digimon Pendulum color are. So skipping down to the actual product area of this. So price, 7150 yen. So that's, you know, our color devices in Digimon universe, and those are never super cheap, so sorry. But this is, once again, premium Bandai only. This is not something that you're going to find in stores. You're going to have to import it in some way. The pre-order itself is going to be going on until July 28th. Other stores that are doing imports don't necessarily have to stop at that point, but they will be limited to whatever reservations that they have available for their own stores. So if you want this, better to make sure you get yours in sooner than later, just to make sure that you have the opportunity to. And they are going to be releasing in December of 2025. Now, if one of the things you're worried about, since you have to import this, is language, you shouldn't be. Digimon Pendulum devices are entirely in English, regardless of the fact that they are made in Japan. There aren't different localizations for any of these devices, so no matter where you're buying it, you're getting the same one. There's no English version, there's no Japanese version, there's no Chinese version. It is all the same, produced in Japan, or the release in Japan version. But Pendulums just happen to be in English text, so nothing to worry about there. As long as you, I mean, if you're watching this video, I'm going to assume you know English, so there you go, you're good. And yeah, that's pretty much it for these devices. So pretty darn cool that we are getting these. Very, very excited about them. I could not believe that we're seeing this. So I definitely figured at some point that we're going to reuse the Digital Monster color and the Digimon Pendulum color to make some kind of new idea. Because that's what they did with the Digital Monster 20th and Pendulum 20th, is they didn't make new devices that were standalone. They just made new devices that used previous things to, I don't know, I guess make it easier to make new ones, and that's what they're doing here too. So I knew that would happen at some point, but I didn't know it would happen like this, because my assumption was that the Digital Monster color was going to get something new, not the Digital Monster X, but something kind of similar to that, a similar idea. For those wondering, no, I don't expect that we're ever going to get a color release of the X, or of the Digital Monster X. I don't expect we're ever going to get a color release of the Digimon Pendulum Z. I think those were one-time things based on that they wanted to do an extension of the Digital Monster and Pendulum shells that they already had available to them. So same idea here. They're reusing things in effective ways of making new products. So yeah, that is to say that apparently the Digital Monster Color series, its reuse is the collabs. That's what it is. And so I was expecting them to do a new Digimon related device at some point with them, but no, they're just sticking to the collabs on the Digital Monster Color. So it makes sense that they'll skip straight to the Pendulum Color for the actual continuation of that device usage. So yeah, again, I figured they'd do something to reuse them in some way, and that's what it looks like. So collabs for the DMC, Pensy gets new Digimon, and this does open the door for new ones of these too, because these are versions 6 and 7 of the Pendulum series. What's to say they can't make an 8 and a 9 and a 10 and 11 and continue it? I don't know how far they'd want to go with it. I would not be surprised if we see at least one more set of devices like these, whatever themes those might be, but I would also not be surprised if they didn't. You never know with Bandai and what they're going to do. So yeah, either way, really, really exciting to see. It's cool to see new themes like this, especially in the world of Pendulums, where those same 6 themes get reused a lot. And I love those 6 themes. I really do. But it's cool to see something new, a new idea that still uses theming in a cool way. And this is definitely a very cool way. So one thing you've seen a couple times now at this point is going to be the Iremon cases. So these are cases that were released originally way back when. There were Iremon cases for the original Digimon Pendulums that you throw your pendulum into, and there you go, it's kept nice and safe. And there's been some, recreations by fans since then, and places like Zenin where they've done their own variations of this, but these are the official ones coming back. I do have an original Iremon case. I don't actually like it that much, to be honest with you, but I am going to order a couple of these just because, why not? Check it out, see what it's like. But for those unaware, yeah, they're exactly what they look like. You take your device, you put it in, and then it's got a little safe space to be. You still have access to the buttons. The only thing you don't have access to is the top of the device to be able to modify, or to be able to connect it to something else. So you just, flip the lid. There you go. You'll also notice there is a cutout for being able to charge your device, so you won't have to remove it every time that you want to do that either. And there's not really a lot to say about the Iremon, but we'll go ahead and go down to the product section here to show you that it is 1980 yen, which is a little much for just plastic. I don't know, especially mass-produced plastic, but whatever. I get some of these cases are well more than that from other areas, but yeah, I don't know. It's as much as a Tamagotchi is, so. But I don't know. I don't think it's a bad purchase either, but it's a fine purchase. It's fine, as long as it's sturdier than the old ones. The old ones were not the strongest things in the world, and that's kind of why, I'd be willing to pay more than this for a solid case, something that is like really, really well put together, but these were not like anything super special, so hopefully they're a little bit better, but I'll do a comparison when they get here, of course, and we can see. So either way, these have the same pre-order period. These are ending pre-orders on the 28th. Other import stores can do whatever they want, so as long as they have the reservations, they'll keep going. But again, if you really want one, make sure to order it sooner than rather than later. These are also shipping in December 2025. I would hope that means they'd ship on the same day as the Pendulums to go along with them. But yeah, I don't know. But that should be pretty much everything for now, which is a lot to go over, obviously. There's a lot of new things in here, a lot of cool stuff. Thank you for also bearing with me for the low-tech version of the video. I've got a lot of stuff going on at the moment and did not have time to do a fully properly edited video. I don't like doing just website exploring, but every now and then I am forced to, so thank you for your patience with me doing that, and hopefully you still got a lot out of this video despite the presentation being less than my normal expectations. Either way, very, very excited about the Digimon Pendulum Color having 2 new versions coming to it, and very looking forward to this. And yeah, I think that's about all there is to say about it for now, so obviously I'll update if there's any other news or anything important to bring up about it. And if you want to chat about this, of course, head over to the Discord server. We've got our Modern VPets channel where we are constantly discussing this, and we post news there immediately as we find it, ping the whole server, so when things are happening right away as quickly as possible. So yeah, very exciting, very cool, and yeah, I'll be updating with more things as they come out. So until next time, bye.